In March 2010, the tombs caught fire and they were razed totally to the ground. A commission of inquiry was set up by the government to establish the cause of the fire, but up to now the report has never been released. So we cannot say with certainty as to what caused the fire. It could have been arson. The question that arises then is that who was interested in burning the tombs? It could have been an electric shock. It could have been fire from a stove. But what happened is that the tombs were razed to the ground. And of course, that is one of the saddest moments in the history of the kingdom in modern times.
This is a video showing the reconstruction process of the tombs of Buganda kings at Kasubi World Heritage Site. Kasubi World Heritage Site is situated 5 kilometers away from Kampala city center on Kasubi Hill on Kampala-Hoima Road. The Kasubi tomb site is an active religious place in Buganda Kingdom. Its place as the burial ground for the previous 4 Kabakas makes it a very important religious center for the royal family, a place where the Kabaka and his subjects frequently carry out important rituals related to Uganda culture. The proper expression and enaction of the rituals is pivotal to the well-being of Buganda Kingdom. In the evening of March 16, 2010, Muziwazala Mpanga, a huge thatched structure housing the mausoleum of 4 kings of Buganda, went up in flames. This tragedy triggered emotional and revealed to the entire world the importance of the site to the Buganda. This site was constructed in 1882 as a palace and became a mausoleum from Tesa I when he died in 1884. It continued to serve as a burial site for the subsequent 3 Kabakas. This made the Kasubi tombs a unique site because never before in the history of Buganda had 4 great kings been buried in the same mausoleum. The Kasubi tombs is a site of high significance. It's a masterpiece of human creativity. Its unusual scale and outstanding details of ensemble bear witness to the creative genius of the Baganda, and a masterpiece of form and craftsmanship. It also bears eloquent witness to the living cultural heritage and traditions of the Baganda, a site where communication links with the spiritual world is maintained. Its spatial arrangement and organization represents the best example of the Baganda Palace architecture, which reflects technical achievement developed over many centuries.
Kasubi tombs are very significant to the heritage of the Kingdom of Buganda because they express our civilization. The house, when it was constructed, was supposed to represent the 52 then clans of Buganda. And the clan system is pivotal to the heritage of Buganda because every Buganda belongs to a given clan. And the methods used to construct any palace of a Kabaka, or even now the tombs, is premised on the roles of different clans within the kingdom. But the architecture itself speaks volumes about the civilization of the people at that point in time. So they're very, very significant to the heritage of the Kingdom of Buganda. Of course, subsequently, 3 other kings have been interred within Muzibu Azala Mpanga. Kabaka Mwanga II, the successor to Kabaka Mutesa I. Kabaka Chwa II, the successor to Kabaka Mwanga II. And Kabaka Mutesa II, the successor to Kabaka Daudi Chwa II. That makes them even more significant.
So this site, the Tombs of Uganda Kings at Kasubi, was nominated as a World Heritage Site because of its significance and its uniqueness. And they did so using 4 different parameters, what they call the outstanding universal value. Those 4 things which are key, which are unique, and which are of international importance. And one of them is that the ensemble, the way the site is organized as a palace, where you have the main site, the main house, Muzibu Azala Mpanga, surrounded by the widows' houses, and then the entrance house. And this is unique for the royal palaces in Uganda, and therefore it signifies what it was during those times of the kingdom. Secondly, the craftsmanship of the way the main house, which is Muzibu Azala Mpanga, was crafted. You look at this huge structure of Muzibu Azala Mpanga and the way it was crafted by the skilled artisans of the kingdom, and the roof design, which duplicates the roles of the different artisans, the different clans in Uganda. The creativeness of the people of Uganda in working on this house is a unique skill that was also recognized as they were nominating the tombs. Thirdly, the living culture. When you look at the 52 rings, they have a connection with the 52 clans of Uganda. And each clan has a role to play in Uganda. It means that the site is connected to its people, and therefore they all have a role to play, and it unifies all of them as they do perform the roles of the king.
Following the fire incident of 16th March 2010, the government of Uganda informed the Director General of UNESCO about the fire that had devastated the World Heritage property and requested for support to assess the extent of destruction to the outstanding universal value. In response, UNESCO sent the first expert evaluation mission, whose findings confirmed the feasibility of reconstructing the site to its former glory. This formed the basis of the reconstruction process, a key focus of this video.
So UNESCO came on board. The Director General of UNESCO came to Uganda immediately after the site was hit by fire in order to see what needs to be done to reconstruct the site. Fortunately, the technical people indicated after their report that this site can be reconstructed. So UNESCO, together with the other partners of the world, including Buganda Kingdom, Uganda government, and any other stakeholders that were able to come on board, came up with a plan to reconstruct the site.
To kickstart the process of the reconstruction, Government of Uganda put in place a national technical committee to guide on all technical aspects of the reconstruction. Members of the committee were drawn from the Department of Museums and Monuments, of the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Buganda Kingdom, Uganda National Commission for UNESCO, as well as Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. There was need to do research on all aspects of Kasubi tombs to inform the reconstruction process, especially in view of the recovery of outstanding universal value of the site, the basis upon which the site was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2001. The choice of the reconstructed Kasubi Tombs house is based on the 1938 model, which was inscribed on the World Heritage List, but slightly modified to reflect the pitch of the roof of the 1905 model to cure the low pitch of the 1938 model associated with the rainwater ingress. The designs of the chosen model were produced to guide the process of the reconstruction. These are clearly indicated in a sequence. This became a blueprint in the reconstruction process. The real reconstruction started with the erection of the superstructure, which included the casting of the columns, the erection of the steel structure, the fitting of the timber structure as part of the roof. Then the team embarked on the thatching process, which was undertaken by artisans under the leadership of a traditional thatcher known as Wabula Akayole. This grass that was used to thatch had to be procured from various sub-counties of Uganda, brought to Kasubi, dried, sorted before the thatching process as a preservation measure. It should be noted that fire is number one threat to the existence of Kasubi tombs. As such, a fire disaster system has been put in place with financial support from UNESCO and the government of Japan. In the process, several people were trained to use the equipment and to respond to any fire disasters. The main tomb house has more than one seating as indicated. Special attention was paid to make sure each of the seatings is erected with precision and accuracy. The inner seating, which is seen from inside the house, is the most delicate of all, requiring high skills in weaving. This is the section which consumed most of the time as it requires precision. The artisans who did this work were trained for several months with practical engagements at Wamala tombs to be able to refine their mastery of weaving and erection of the three most inner rings. Thatching is one of the main components of the reconstruction process at Kasubi. The traditional knowledge systems of thatching belongs to the Ngei clan. They are responsible for maintaining the thatch, a skill passed on from one generation to another through apprenticeship. The making of the inner seating is one of those thatching components that require weaving skills. Here men are seen working on the inner seating of the newly reconstructed tomb's house. It is a slow process that requires patience and precision in execution. The main seating materials are the reeds. The reeds are selected to eliminate fragile and partially rotten ones. The reeds are then smoothened with a knife blade. To make the rings, the reeds are tied together with a sisal rope. For the visible inner rings, they are covered once the seating is finished with palm fronds.
We call it a restoration. It's a restoration because the structure as it is being put up today is pretty much a replica of the structure that Mutesa I put up in 1874. In 1938, renovations were carried out on the tombs by Kabaka Daudi Chwa II. And during that renovation exercise, the structure was modified a little bit. It was, for example, the pitch was lessened during the renovation of 1938. Now, because we were doing a restoration, we decided to restore the tombs to their, original, the original appearance. And the project manager, Jonathan Insubuga, went to London at the Royal Geographical Society to get actual photographs that were taken by the explorers and colonialists. And that they used the dimensions to establish the actual appearance and pitch and all these things of the tombs. So we are doing a restoration because the tombs were burnt by fire in 2010. And we pretty much have reconstructed the image they were in at the time of the passing of Kabaka Mutesa I, which I think is important for history because we want to show what it was like when the one who established this place died.
The key role I have is to ensure that resources as needed by experts, resources as needed by the vendors, both in kind and cash, are available. And so, strategically, I mobilize these resources. I ensure the cash flow is available. I ensure also there is value for money for the resources that are dispersed. And to date, I'm happy to mention that we have been able to find these resources. Internally, most of the resources have been secured internally by the kingdom. We have got money from Baganda and people from Buganda who love their kingdom. That has formed the bulk of the support of the restoration. Close to 70% of the money has come from the people of Buganda. But I wish also to recognize that the government of Uganda has supported. They provided 2 billion Uganda shillings for the restoration of Masiro. Also, we have had money from the government of Japan, $270,000 US. This is mainly was allocated to installing the fire fighting equipment in Masiro. We have also had UNESCO put in about $24,000 US for research. They wanted to have research before the restoration started so that could be documented. So we have talked to people, we have talked to institutions, we have talked to governments, and we are happy that as I speak now, we are in the last mile and stretch in terms of resources to complete the restoration of the Masiro.
The reconstruction and recovery of this heritage site has been full of challenges. We had to rebuild the structure, but we had to build something that would stand the test of time and we could preserve the vegetal materials and all the other aspects. So this meant that we had to go back into history and look at the original buildings that were built, the original palace, Muziwa Zalampanga. There's a photograph which I purchased from the Royal Geographical Society in London, which had the Muziwa Zalampanga in 1897, if I recall. And that was Kabaka Mutesa I's original palace. And we used that image together with another photograph taken in 1911, but from a remodeled house of 1905, which was rebuilt in 1905, when they were bringing the remains of Kabaka Daniel Mwanga from the Seychelles. That house was altered and was slightly smaller than the original structure by Mutesa I, Kabaka Mutesa I. So those are two different structures, which I call two different models, the 1897 model and the 1905 model. Then, of course, we had the 1938 model that was reconstructed by Kabaka Daudi Chwa in 1938. And this was a reduced structure and a much shorter building. And the construction and design of it was not good enough in terms of preserving the vegetal materials, and the grass would always get rotten. So what we did was to look at the documentation that was available for us to to prepare these drawings. We had the original plans of Sekawaka Mutesa 1, and we also had the plans prepared in 1938 by Sekawaka Daudi Chua II. So in using these two plans, we kind of studied what was in the buildings within the interior. So the only visible evidence we had at that time was the internal photographs taken of the 1938 model. So we decided to use the 1938 model interior as part of the reconstruction model. But also, since we had evidence of the external photographs of the 1897 model of Sekawaka Mutesa 1, we decided to rebuild the external parts of the building to resemble the original design as was here originally. So those are some of the decisions that were taken to make the decisions to decide on the outlook or the model that we've now got constructed. Obviously, the challenges have been many. In doing this, we've got norms and traditions. We've got to follow all sorts of issues regarding who does what in terms of the clans, in terms of those who are supposed to touch the building, in terms of the rituals of cleansing. And these have all been very challenging issues in terms of reconstructing this building with all its traditional authenticity. So when you begin to look at these things, you begin to realize that a lot of items are informing the decisions that are being made, to rebuild. And in that sense, you begin to realize that you need to consult with a lot of people or be in different situations to get the right answers or guidance. We've got the Bataka, the clan leaders. The Bataka have been involved in this project. The key Bataka, what we need, for instance, now at Muziba Zalampanga, we have the two main clans that are involved in the construction, and that is the Ngeye, which is the Colobus Monkey clan, and the Ngo, which is the Leopard clan.
The reconstruction of Kasubi tombs has been a big challenge to the people of Uganda, and more so we the clan leaders, because as I said, we are the custodians of the cultural values, and the reconstruction of Kasubi tombs falls under big traditional heritage project, where we have had to do a big job as leaders, as advisors, and as implementers of the plans that have been put on paper. All of us have had a part to play as clans of Uganda. We are 50 clans, 56 clans, but we have had a lead of the Leopard clan as the designers of the construction of the Kasubi tombs. And through this, we have Abagirinya who do the construction using baka cloth, like the one that I'm putting on, raffia, reeds, and fiber. All these are local material which they use to design the royal tombs. But apart from that, they are called the royal designers. They design the palaces, and all the palaces that have been built in Uganda were designed by the Abagirinya, coming from the Leopard clan.
When you involve cultural leaders or those who are responsible, you infuse the building with the spiritual energy. And it was very important to only work with or use people who had the titles to work on this house or to carry out the roles. And this has helped, but also it created many challenges in terms of friction, management of the site, leadership, cultural leadership within the kingdom. But as an architect, you have to follow what is right. And I think after 12 years on this project, I'm very, very happy that we followed what was deemed to be the correct procedure, to only work with those who are supposed to work and, infuse the building and give it back its authority, its spiritual authority. And that could only be achieved by involving those who are supposed to do the work.
Kati tuli mu kuwunda munda era bwe tuba tuwunda munda tulina bye tugoberera. Kusooka tusiba ebizizi ebyo nga mubiraba, netusooka kubaita okuwembera, ne tusibako nga kino bwokiraba kiriko obuso obugogwa. Kati bwe tukimala okukikola bwe tutyo tulina okuddayo okukiwunda, okukijjako engalo. Kati nga bwolaba abaana bano basiba oluyulu, okuteekako oluyulu olwo, tuteekako oluyulu olwo yewaya bajjajjaffe, yewaya yaabwe gye baakozesanga era gye tulina okukozesa wano mu Buganda ffe. Yewaya eyaffe ey'ennono ng'Abaganda, olwo oluyulu. Omulimu guno gwa bujjajja ogukolebwa, era si buli omu nti ajja kuva eri ajja akole omulimu ogwo. Gulina nga ffe bannannyini gwo, gulina tugoba mayumba, gulina amayumba mwe bava. So si bango bonna oba bangeyo bonna nti bajja kuva eri buli omu ajja akole ki akole. Tulina ennono mwe tuva. Kyova olabanga omulimu guno okugutuusa wano wemulabako tuzze tugukola mu mitendera. Kati nga ffe waffe mu Bengeye, nze nva mu lunyiriri lwa Luyombo, mu mutuba gwa Wabula Akayole, guli Mwereero Esingo, Musiga gya Sebatta Emutundwe, Akasolya ye Kasujja Kyesimba akulira Engeye. Kati nze sijja kwogerera wangu Owengo.
Neyanza amanya gange nze Ssemujju Henry Walugali, ndi musajja mugirinya era ndi musajja wangu ddala. Omulimu gwaffe wano tuli bawunzi, ffe tuwunda embuga za Bakabaka zonna, nti emirimu gino era giva mu nnyumba yaffe ng'obugirinya bagirinya, ffe tugirinya emirimu gya Bwakabaka gyonna nga gikulemberwa mukama waffe Ssejjirinya, era yatukulembedde mu mulimu guno lwakuba nti eno tatuuka, ajja n'alambula bye tukola naye nga ataddemu emitwe emikulu gigende nga gigoberera abakozi bano nga bwe balaba, nga twegattiddwako bannaffe bano Abengeye nga tukolera wamu emirimu gy'Obwakabaka.
Ssebo, omulimu guno ogw'ebizizi bino ogw'ennyumba eno 1, 2, 3 Abengo bagukola nga tewaliwo muziro mulala gwe bakwatiddeko. Abengo nga bakulembera mukama waabwe Ssejjirinya be bakola omulimu guno, ekizizi kino ekisooka, ekyokubiri n'ekyokusatu. Era balina enju yaabwe mwe babikolera, Kajjaga be babeerayo, era babeera ku bwerende okukola ebizizi byabwe ebyo. Babikoledde emyezi emeka babeerawo, ate si buli muntu yenna nti alaba ku mulimu gwabwe ogwo. Okujjako nga guwedde tugenda okuguwanikayo, bamala okugumaliriza nga tugenda obiwanikayo, olwo naffe Abengeye ne tulyoka tubeegattako ne tuwanikayo ebizizi bino ne biwanikibwa naye bakunnyonnyodde. Ffe tuba tukola bino, bano Abengo nga bakola bino. Omukolo ogw'okuteekayo bino bwe gutuuka ne bajja ne tuguteekayo ebyo, era guba mukolo munene, si gwa layisi, guba mukolo muki, guba mukolo munene okuteekayo ebyo. Kati ebizizi bino tuba tukola ebizizi bino, tukola ebizizi bya mirundi 2, waggulu ne wansi. Kati omuwaato ogusigala wano wakati ze mmuli zino mwe ziyita, eri wali ekizikutte nawono ekizikutte, ebizizi bino bikwata mmuli zino obutagwa zino, eno siiringi ze zino loko ezizikwata oba obusiba obuzikwata obutagwa buno bwolaba buno. ziba na bino tubikola ate era bino tubikola mu muli tuzigatta bando oba akanywa netugenda nga tukasiba kiba kiwanvu nnyo okuva eno netugenda tukyetolooza bwe tutibwe netujja netukigatta netukola ekyokubiri nga tugenda otuteeka nga tugenda mu Luganda tukuyita kusoka katusoka emmuli zino gyolaba zino kati wetumala okumalayo eri wansi ennyumba gyeggwera nga bwogirengera tumazeeyo kati nga tuyita mukama waffe ono Ssejjirinya ng'akomawo ono ye Ssejjirinya akulembera omulimu guno aye mukama waffe yina yatufuga wano ye Ssejjirinya fena yatufuga tuli wansi we kati ng'ategeezebwa ng'ajja agenda mu nju yaabwe ne banne abengo nga baleeta omulimu guno nga guteekebwayo mu butongole era n'ensi yonna emanya nti ennyumba eno ekolebwa eteekebwayo akasolya kano era guba mukolo munene nnyo wano nnyo.
We have had challenges. There was no blueprint on how to restore royal tombs. That has been a big challenge. And everybody became an expert on norms, on culture, on heritage, and all that. That has been a big challenge and has been very expensive. Things that have been done and undone and redone. We have had to buy things that have been rejected by experts. Sometimes I say experts in quotes, and that's my personal view. So that has been a big challenge. Of course, the cost of inputs, the sheer amount of thatch and ridges, you travel far and wide to find them. And when they come, maybe only 60% of what you pay for can be used because they have to clean it, look at it, is it straight, is it mature, will it, So there has been wastage, preferage. That has been very painful for me as the Minister of Finance.
Ebintu ebikozesebwa wano bakozesa essubi, emmuli, enjulu, obukeedo n'ebirala. Kati bayongeramu ebintu ebipya ng'obugoogwa okusobola okukola okunyweza. Naye nga kye tulina okulaba nti ebintu ebikozesebwa byeyo byennyini bye balina okukozesa wano. Obuzibu bwendabye nga tuzzaawo amasiro gano byebyo ebikozesebwa, engeri y'okubifuna n'okubisanga wano mu Buganda. Wano mu Buganda twalina omuddo ogwo mungi ng'essubi n'emmuli, naye bigendeze biggwawo olw'enkulaakulana y'ensi. Kati ne twesanga ebintu ebyo tulina kubijja mu disitulikiti eziriraanye Buganda. Ate ng'olina okumala okugendayo okulaba nti ddala kyekyo kye twetaaga kye tugenda okukozesa. Ebintu ebikozesebwa wano biteekwa okuba nga bikuze bulungi, ate nga byanikiddwa bulungi, ate nga bisunsuddwa bulungi okulaba nti tufuna ddala ekintu ekituufu kye twetaaga kye tugenda okukozesa.
The project has taken so long because of the following reasons. One, there were no precedents about the restorations of tombs for the kings of Buganda. There was no precedent whatsoever. Because, like I started, in 1938, renovations were carried out. These were renovations were carried out in 1939. And there had never been an exercise of restoring the tombs from the ground. So we had to agree on the procedures that were necessary. We had to agree on the cultural norms that were necessary. We had to find the experts from the cultural perspective, because these tombs are not just a big hut. It's not a big hut, thatched with grass. These are tombs. And because they are tombs of the kings, there are certain processes and procedures and norms and traditions that have got to be observed. And we had to identify the clans responsible for some of these procedures and all these things. A very complex exercise, by the way. Now, that was the first challenge. Like I said, because there was no precedent, we had to agree. You sit with the elders and people in the know as far as culture is concerned, and you refer to historians, you refer to people of knowledge. It was not easy. Then you agree on what is supposed to be done at what stage of the restoration exercise. That is one reason. The second reason was to mobilize the resources. People simply have no idea that that massive structure is put up basically with hands. It's a labor-intensive exercise. It's extremely expensive. As I speak now, we've spent anywhere in excess of 8 billion shillings. That's over $2 million. $2 million, at the stage where it is, and we're not yet done. The materials used are not found on the open market. You've got to go to the forests, to the wilderness, to the jungles, to the swamps, all over the kingdom to collect these swamps. It's an extremely tedious and expensive exercise. Thirdly, to identify the people who have the know-how. And by the way, it's not just merely a matter of finding people with the know-how. They must belong to certain clans. Because these are tombs. They're an expression of our heritage. So you just don't bring anybody from the streets who can weave the rings and do all these things. No. So largely, those have been the major reasons why we've taken this long. And we chose to take one step at a time, provided we were doing the right thing.
One of the leading key achievements as the Minister of Finance has been that we have been able to find the resources internally and also externally. That's been a big achievement. The second achievement, to me, has been the normancy and the stakeholder management to allow the work to continue. And I wish to thank His Majesty for providing leadership in that aspect. Because you can have the money, but when the stakeholders, because there are so many stakeholders when it comes to the Kasubi Royal Tombs. So that has been a very, very big achievement that for the last 2 years, we have had a smooth implementation of the restoration of the Royal Tombs. That has been key. And of course, value for money in terms of achievement, we have finished thatching the Royal Tombs. Putting thatch, that has been done. That has been great. Now, inside, where they are trying to finish the ridges with all the grandeur, with all what's needed, is about 70% done. That's a big achievement. But we still have the backcloth rendering, which is still outstanding. So, on the whole, we are happy up to this point with the progress of the restoration. Because now, whatever they are doing inside the royal tomb is secured from weather and everything, because the thatching is well done, and now they are coming down slowly with all the ridges being well wrapped and decorated and whatever they have to do.
In terms of managing the risks, one, the UNESCO, the Japanese government through UNESCO has donated the firefighting equipment. It's a modern equipment really, which can trigger in the case of fire detection anywhere. I think that one we I think we are now past that stage where we have now, at least now, put that in place. But even then, the company which will be managing the tombs, which is a Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board, is a company of Buganda Kingdom which manages the tourism and heritage kind of activities. We will come out with is working on a Masiro management plan, which will include all those aspects, including the business, also including the heritage and also the preservation.
Culturally, as I said before, it is a World Heritage Site. So government, through its mechanisms of the tourism board, the site remains the #1 to be promoted to the world, for visitors to be able to come and enjoy our heritage. And so there's a big part which government plays in ensuring enough visitors come in here to see and enjoy our culture. As it was before, the role of government is supervisory, supervising and advising about the conservation methods of ensuring that the site does not deteriorate again, the site does not leak, the house does not leak, to ensure that the management of the site is properly being done, to ensure that the repairs are done in time, and to ensure that continuous training in the area of conservation, in the area of risk management is done at the appropriate time.
By the time of making this video, several reconstruction activities were still going on, while others were pending, like the decoration of the interior of the tombs house, the completion of the disaster management system, as well as the preparation and reconstruction of the artifacts that were destroyed in the 2010 fire.